This is the creature we call an axolotl, a fascinating amphibian that's captured the hearts of many exotic pet enthusiasts. Hello, I'm Shafik, and I'm on a mission to uncover all the legal intricacies that surround keeping these adorable aquatic salamanders as pets in the United States. And one of those intricacies pertains to state laws, or as they're known in the pet world, the ultimate party poopers. It means exactly what you think it does. And of course, as a certified axolotl aficionado, I've done my fair share of research on these little guys. Alright? Just off the top of my head, I've looked into laws in California, New Jersey, and I think from that I've learned quite a bit about axolotl legality, so I know what I'm talking about. But when it comes to the different states, whether you're just looking for a quirky new pet or something to make your aquarium stand out, it is worth learning that axolotl laws in one state aren't necessarily the same as in another. And so without further ado, let's metaphorically dive into the murky waters of axolotl legislation as I uncover the ways that axolotl legality varies across the United States. When I was out there for the first time on the American pet store circuit, living the exotic pet lifestyle on my quest for the perfect axolotl, the first confusing thing that I noticed is that pet stores in some states, and as it turns out quite a few states, insist upon not selling axolotls at all. Sarah, what do you mean by that? Well, here's how axolotl legality works in the United States. We'll get into specific states later. In some states, you can walk into a pet store, point at an axolotl and say, "I'll take that one, please." In others, you might as well be asking for a pet unicorn. In America, I don't know why my hand is still up there. In America, it's a little bit different because that same creature that you can easily purchase in one state might be completely illegal in another. So the axolotl that's swimming happily in your neighbor's tank in Texas could land you in hot water if you tried to keep one in California. And then you get to your local pet store. And this is where those state-to-state differences really take shape, or should I say legality. Because there's one key rule. On the whole, axolotl laws tend to be stricter in states with delicate ecosystems. And the reason for this, as we all know, is that America values its native wildlife. But it's also because axolotls, despite their cute appearance, are considered invasive species in some areas. And so we just sort of ban them, in fact, awkwardly. And I know what you're thinking. Ooh, Sarah, what was the first? Being squashed in the elevator with a bunch of axolotl enthusiasts on the way up to an exotic pet convention. But the next time we met in a pet store in a different state, we sure did have a chuckle. At least I think we did. I couldn't hear them because they were on the other side of the store, probably asking about snakes or something. You see, American axolotl laws like speed limits or drinking ages or America itself are just varied. I mean, they'd have to be, right? Especially given what we've discovered on this channel about the differences in state ecosystems. And of course, a pet store is not the only place where you'd find an axolotl. In addition to pet stores, there's online retailers, breeders, and in desperate times, that guy who knows a guy who has a cousin who might have an axolotl, which should prompt nobody to ask me about the back alley axolotl incident of 2018. And I know what you're thinking. Yes, Sarah, the axolotl is illegal in California. Well, firstly, that's not always been true. And secondly, that's not where I was going with this. So I was actually going to mention the varying degrees of legality. Because while in some states axolotls are completely banned, this is often not the case everywhere. To go from fully legal to completely illegal, you often have to kind of step through a gradient of regulations because the legality is more nuanced than just a simple yes or no. There's one thing to remember. There's getting an axolotl legally, but keeping it when laws change could lead to an unintentionally hilarious situation. In fact, I do have footage of someone trying to sneak their axolotl across state lines, but I can't show it on here because I get hundreds of complaints and an equal number of requests for axolotl smuggling tips. So just take my word for it. Axolotls are of course found in many places and through much of the exotic pet trade, but never more do I need to know about their legality than when I'm in a new state. So because of this, it is worth remembering some of the key differences between axolotl-friendly and axolotl-averse states. Don't take my word for it. Instead, listen to me from last year. It was once said by me in Just a Second From Now that you can tell a lot about a state by its stance on exotic pets. And given its unparalleled record of boasting stricter environmental laws than everyone else. California might fancy its chances of winning the "my axolotl laws are stricter than your axolotl laws" debate. But the truth is, and you might find this shocking, other states have pretty strict laws too. You can't talk about axolotl laws without talking about permits. Permits are the official documents that keep your axolotl ownership attached to the right side of the law, like a well-secured aquarium lid. And the only reason I made an aquarium sim there was to draw your attention to the miniature axolotl habitat I made from old fish tanks while I was bored. Anyway, there are several key differences in this department. In some states, permits are readily available for axolotl ownership. This makes them easier to obtain and impossible to ignore. How do I know that? Because I was an overeager axolotl owner once. But whereas some states, that is axolotl-friendly states, are decidedly pro-permit, that's not always the case in America. Sure, states like Indiana, Ohio, and Pennsylvania definitely do allow axolotls with proper documentation. But states like California and New Jersey, which are easily the more outgoing and competitive of the bunch when it comes to environmental protection, have outright bans due to the manner in which each state assesses the potential ecological impact. There's also a difference in how they enforce these laws. In some states, the penalties for illegal axolotl ownership hang over your head like a sword of Damocles, thus making it harder to justify the risk. And the more lenient approach of other states means that you can, in theory, keep an axolotl more easily, but it's not recommended without proper research. Moreover, some states operate on a case-by-case basis, and others have blanket bans. What does all of this mean? Well, let's just say that you want to keep an axolotl in California, but it doesn't run at all because it's an aquatic creature. In that instance, you'll need to run to the nearest state line to pick up your belongings and move. Moving to a different state will allow you to keep your axolotl legally. In the event that your new state doesn't have clear axolotl laws, be sure to also pick up a legal consultation. This legal advice is magic. It allows you to turn your potentially illegal pet ownership into a legally sound decision. For axolotl owners visiting states with strict laws, the same applies, but in reverse. A temporary home for your axolotl might also be needed to safely travel without your pet. Both are widely available for axolotl enthusiasts on various pet sitting websites. I'd say the most obvious difference between axolotl-friendly and axolotl-averse states is the availability. When I first tried to buy an axolotl in California, I couldn't believe how difficult it was, and not in a they're selling like hotcakes type way. I mean, this was a pet store. I just mean it was illegal. But in states like Texas, you don't usually have that problem and or restriction because a significant amount of pet stores in axolotl-friendly states are either selling axolotls or can order them for you. This is a particular problem when you're squished in a tiny New York apartment with your future axolotl, only to find out it's illegal there too. As with many areas of life, axolotl ownership is its own subgenre of state-to-state word differences. Take, for instance, the name that we assign to that helpful pet store employee who helps you with your axolotl questions when you're checking out the aquariums. In some states, this person is known as an exotic pet specialist. This is the word we use for what other states might call an aquarium expert or a salamander guru. Also, whether it's situated in a mall or a standalone building, axolotl enthusiasts across America can agree on what you call that area of the pet store where you find the axolotls. Upon entering, we usually opt for the word aquatic section. Please note that axolotl owners, just like patrons on my most recent secret stream, are divided on whether axolotls should be pronounced axolotl or axolotl. Either way, some states will often call this area this salamander zone. More often than not, axolotl-friendly states will call an axolotl a legal pet. Axolotl-averse states will call a legal pet not an axolotl, while axolotl enthusiasts have about 100 words for these adorable creatures. Chief among these are water puppies, Mexican walking fish, smiling salamanders, or aquatic Pokemon. And finally, axolotl permits. This is something I've encountered far more in axolotl-friendly states than I have in others. This is a legal document offered by some states in which you pay a fee to legally own an axolotl. But the use of permits might be confusing to some axolotl owners. You might think of a permit, often pronounced permit, as a bureaucratic hassle, a fine example of which is the character of Ron Swanson from Parks and Recreation that I somehow keep mentioning in my videos just by coincidence. That's it for this video. Let me know in the comments below some of the axolotl law differences that you've encountered. I'm Sarah Johnson. You can follow me on Twitter at AxolotlsInsider, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that my videos don't get lost in the murky waters of YouTube's algorithm. Thank you to my patrons for literally making this video happen. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so today at patreon.com/axolotlnoyadventures. Until the next video, goodbye.